an Empire Boxing and Unlearning Network production.
I think you'd have to expect the same type of just savagery, right? There's no playing around when I step in the ring now. I mean, when I'm sparring, you see me basically being a nice guy. And once that bell rings now, I just look at it like it's my civic duty to starch that guy as quick as possible.
And speaking of sparring, you've been going out east to spar with some of the big dogs. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to really network in the last year in Toronto. I've been fortunate to meet some good people in some good quality gyms. DeWitt Fraser and his big guy, Ricardo, Big 12 Brown. He's going to be one of the guys I'll be working with here when I go to Toronto next week. Also the champ there, Ryan Rizicki, going to be fortunate enough to get another session in there with him. So this is the kind of stuff that really just allows you to test yourself and evaluate yourself in real time and show what you're made of, right? So I think every time I go back there and I do my thing, I'm going solo. I don't have an entourage. I think that shows people how serious I am about this.
Yeah, most definitely. And what does it mean for you to fight for not just the Western, now that you have the Western, fighting for the Eastern as well?
Well, it's a dream come true. It really is. It's to me, I believe and I will lay claim to being the Canadian champion after unifying these belts. And the next one is just essentially looking for that single belt. But I believe that this was meant to be for me, and I don't take anything for granted. A lot of people might think I'm arrogant or cocky. I don't really care what they think, but I can tell you nobody trains harder than me, and that's why I'm as confident as I am, because I put the work in.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'll pass it off to Jana. You got a question?
Yeah, first off, Rhett and Jay, welcome. And I'd like to just shout out Daily Hive as well for having us here today. Sting Boxing for supplying our gloves. And of course, our new sponsor, Dead Man's Fingers, the rum. This branding is on point, so we appreciate you styling up our table. My question is for Rhett. What does it going to look like for you coming into this next fight at 160? What difference will that make, and what can we expect to see?
My last fight was at 160 also, so I think I'm a little more comfortable at this weight. I don't have to cut so much. I feel stronger. My stamina feels better. And also, I can fight like different bodies, My last few opponents have all had the exact same body and the same style. They're short guys. They come forward. They try to throw overhands at me. It's kind of like a repetitive same fight over and over and over again. But this next guy that I'm fighting, Daniel Roach, he looks like he has a little more boxing ability than some of the other people that I've fought. He knows how to move his head. He doesn't look like he has like great footwork, but he has a good jab. He can move his head okay. I don't know about his power, but that'll be a good new code for me to crack. I'm looking forward for a new challenge,
Mm-hmm. And, it's something that we spoke about before. You feel like your corner's always trying to pull you back from the dogfight. They're always, saying, Rhett, we want you box him, don't get sucked into that. But how do you feel about that? And what kind of fight do you like to bring?
I think naturally in my heart, I'm a brawler, or I'm a brawler at heart. So it takes a lot of discipline for me to use my jab, use my footwork, move my feet. But it sometimes doesn't take much to get me into a dogfight, So it's good I have my corner there to kind of bring me back into boxing. But yeah. I mean, naturally, I think I'm a bit of a brawler.
Dan, to you.
Yeah, Rhett, to me, he kind of reminds me of Arturo Gatti in a way, because Gatti has a really good ability to box, and you sometimes start off boxing beautifully, but as soon as you hit him a couple times, he just starts going toe-to-toe with you, and Rhett's kind of the same way. So, I mean, I think he definitely has that brawler instinct in him. But when he does box, he can make the fight a lot easier on himself and make it a lot more decisive. Because, when you go toe-to-toe, it just becomes a fight. It's hard to score, and you're getting hit on both sides, right? So question for both of you. Being that this is our first time at the River Rock Casino, you know, they have quite a bit of history of pro boxing there in the past, and you know, they've taken some time off from having pro boxing there. So, what does it mean for you guys to fight at a big casino in the Lower Mainland like that for each of you?
For me, to speak for myself, like I'm excited to bring boxing back to all these casinos and all these places in Vancouver, and like that our team is moving forward and like reviving the sport in this city, and we're gonna sell it out, and it's gonna be sick, and me and Jay are gonna knock our opponents out, and that's what's going down. So that's the way I see it.
100%. Yeah. Rhett put it there perfectly. I like the bright lights in front of me. I like entertaining the crowd. I like knocking people out. And ever since I was a kid, I dreamed of being a heavyweight champion, main eventing pro boxing shows. And I'm 42 years young now, and that's exactly what's happening. And you know, really the thing that has been so I guess gratifying in the last little while is just seeing how everybody's been able to kind of rally around me and support the cause, and really just recognize that I'm just trying to put BC on the map here too. You know, when I came out here 20 years ago, I was pacing in a cell saying one day I'm going to be part of the revival of boxing in BC. And, you know, you just got to continue to put one foot in front of the other, no matter how bleak it looks. And, you know, somehow, some way, when you continue to do that, things always work themselves out.
Yeah.
Right?
I have a question for you, Jay. You know, starting off as a heavyweight, fighting these monsters that are way bigger than you, you know, obviously it was a rough start in the beginning, but the one thing that I've been very impressed with is your ability to overcome the mental aspect of boxing, which is super hard. You know, when you take tough loss or back-to-back losses, like how have you been able to convince yourself to stick with pro boxing and continue on, and then start proving everybody wrong and really surprising people?
To be honest with you, I think it probably was after the Osani fight. And the biggest fear that I had in that whole situation kind of happened right off the bat. Like, I got that phone call from my team. Hey, yeah, Jay, you know, we got to have a talk, man. You know, maybe you should be hanging it up. And I'm like, huh? What? Man, I got hit by the perfect punch, man. That was like the Doug Flutie Boston College Hail Mary. Right. And so it was like when I realized how quick everybody was just like, I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is who I am. And if I stop right now to this day, then I spent like 30 years at that point in time boxing. And that's as far as I went. And I really never even found a way to actually do what I wanted to in the sport. So I was, at that point, I was just like, no, like if everybody bails, so be it. And, you know, even losing, parting ways with my trainer, the last trainer that I worked with mutually, our coach there, Jerry, you know, it was one of those things where I had to trust my own eyes and I had to trust my own judgment because he was probably the one guy out here that I trusted in the ring, his eyes as much as mine, if not more. But it was kind of like I realized in the fight in Toronto against Salar Galami that the game plan wasn't right for me, but I was still executing it, right? And then, you know, when I realized at that point, like I gotta kind of break the mold, and I'm gonna try a little different way here, and I'm gonna do something that everybody's really gonna probably think is a little crazy. And I never went looking for a coach. I've continued to train myself and game plan for my fights for the last year and a bit. They're all by myself, and then Frankie basically puts the plan into action for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and keeping with the whole takeover theme, I feel like since you've moved to the Bridgerweight division, that's really made changes. And I think, you know, I think when an amateur turns pro, it takes a while for them to kind of get on their feet and really have that confidence. But once they strike that perfect balance and they find that rhythm, that stride, you know, they can really start doing damage. And I've noticed, like, after, I think it was a Galami fight, you came out, like, you just look like a like an animal, you know, like super confident. And yeah, you've just been on a tear ever since. And from what I hear, nobody wants to spar you either. Like you're having trouble even getting sparring.
Yeah, you can become a victim.
Those sirens are for Jay's last sparring partner.
The last opponent.
That's right. They're just mopping up the floor now with him. But yeah, I know it becomes a real challenge because I don't know of anybody right now, or at least in a long time, from BC that's had to go get sparring in other places.
Yeah.
So it does become a bit more of a challenge because, I mean, these things are never guaranteed. And, you know, in Canada, we don't have big money guys paying to bring sparring partners in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And ultimately, we're on the build right now. So slowly but surely, I believe that one day we're going to be at that place where maybe my training camp doesn't have to be in Toronto because we got some studs out here that I can work with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And continue to build the infrastructure up out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have one last question for Rhett. In pro boxing, we see a lot of, shifting of corners, shifting of camps, different coaches coming in, recalibrations after fights. I know you've made some changes to your camp. Tell us about that, and what kind of assets do you have working with you to make this performance one of your best yet?
So, yeah, there's been some changes. I was working with a guy since, when COVID happened. I started working with this guy named Mo. He opened a gym called Iname Boxing, and I started fighting for you guys with him. And basically, we've done a few of I did all my fights with him. And this next one, I think that he's kind of taking a step back from being a boxing coach and stuff. So I kind of had to look around for someone else. So right now, I have Manny Sobral in my corner, and I've been training with a guy named Tony Pep. And Tony Pep, if anyone in Vancouver knows who that is, like, he fought Floyd Mayweather. That guy is like the top of the top when it comes to skills and knowledge. I'm really confident in my team, and I'm happy with the way that things are going. Even though, changes can be rough, I think that things are looking up and it's positive.
Make sure to listen, follow, and subscribe to Empire Boxing on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.